Welcome back to Third Win Thursdays. I'm Scott. I'm joined by John and Eric, partners at TWG, as always. And yeah, how we doing?
Life is good. We got sports starting in the middle of the night these days, which I don't know if I'm that much of a hardo. I'm a hardcore sports fan. Don't get me wrong, but
Yeah.
if you want to this week, you can wake up at 1 in the morning and there will be sports on.
Yep. Well, that's a good segue. Today, 2 a.m. here, the Women's World Cup kicked off. Norway versus New Zealand. And yeah, any predictions for the World Cup in general?
USA
Are
all
we
the way.
excited?
USA all the way, baby. Simple as that.
Three-peat, right?
Simple
This
as
is
that.
going to be Megan Rapinoe's final World Cup, maybe Alex Morgan's final World Cup. I mean, if they can lead the U.S. to their third straight World Cup, perhaps two of the greatest women's soccer players ever. No, so look, I think they got a shot to pull it off. I think this is gonna be their toughest path to the cup out of the three, though, because it seems like all the competition worldwide has been ramping up. But yeah, USA, baby.
And always have the target on their back, and then when you're done watching some Women's World Cup, you can go on over and watch some of the Open first round kicking off. It's just sports galore.
Yep. Who said the summer was boring? Um,
And we just had Wimbledon finish up over the weekend. Did you guys watch Alcaraz versus Djokovic by any chance?
I didn't watch it, but I saw the highlights.
I mean, I turned it on within the first couple minutes. It was that game that went 26 minutes because it went to like 15 deuces. And you're just like, these guys going to play for 7 hours? Is this going to be and it ended up being 5 hours plus. But Alcaraz clearly coming for that title as the heir apparent for this new generation of players. Although something tells me Djokovic will still win several more titles.
He'll still be around, but he's definitely met his match finally. I feel like I was a very young kid when Djokovic was the young guy knocking off Federer and Nadal, and now it's making me feel a little older, knowing that the young guy is coming after him.
You know what's one of the most insane things? You see that chart that Axios Sports puts out after every major. It's like who has won the last majors for the last 20 years, and for about 15 years, it's just either Federer, Nadal, or Djokovic for pretty much every single major, which is just kind of stunning. That level of dominance from three players. So we'll see what this new generation looks like. We're not completely putting to bed Nadal yet. We're not completely putting Djokovic out to pasture yet, but maybe Alcaraz can pick up where these three have left off.
The chosen one.
Yep. It's interesting because I feel like it coincides with Messi and Ronaldo also kind of going into their retirement
basketball too. It's Tom Brady a year ago, or if wherever he's at now.
Yeah,
it's a generational switch time. It's interesting time to be alive.
Yep. All right. So with that, let's jump straight into the headlines. Some interesting themes this week, a little bit different, but still big money and yeah, a lot of stuff happening in the sports world, but it's been a bit more quiet than the past few weeks. All right. Here you go. That's the first one.
We always have one sort of big money deal to talk about.
Yep. Yeah. Now, this comes in twos. So this is by Bloomberg, and it says French billionaire Pinot is in talks to buy CAA talent agency in $7 billion deal. And that was announced right along the same time when it was also reported that Wasserman is in advanced talks to acquire CSM Sports and Entertainment. And we've seen a lot of acquisition in the industry, a lot of consolidation. So it's interesting to see how this might play off for them as a business.
So I have a theory as to why we're seeing so many acquisitions this year, mergers and acquisitions. It's that investors are just trying to lock in gains, right, wherever possible. We've got a lot of bad indicators in the economy, and so to me, it's like if you have more insight into the direction of the economy than the average, consumer, and you know that we're expecting a downturn in the cycle, cash out, right? Cash out. Now, one thing that I noted from CAA was that they were majority owned by TPG, which is a big private equity fund. And the reason I know a little bit about TPG is I worked at EverFi, and they were majority owned by TPG as well while I was still there. So TPG invests in CAA. Too many damn acronyms, but they invested in CAA in 2010. So now that we're in 2023, they need to get a return on their investment, right? So in comes our French billionaire, our friend Pinot, and it feels like TPG is getting, cashing in while they can. Not to say that CAA doesn't have long-term value, but that's something I'm seeing. And then whoever started CSM, the founders of that company are probably trying to lock in their gains and get their big exit while they can, while Wasserman continues to expand globally. So global expansion, locking in gains while you can. That's how I'm reading a lot of this.
And I'm on the same page as you. It's definitely locking down the assets that you have. I saw Wasserman said, somebody reported that this kind of acquisition is definitely going to help them in media rights and help them with their sponsorship activation and kind of help build their portfolio. So like you said, it's locking in those gains, it's locking in those opportunities, and it's kind of trying to make sure that they own the full circle of the business that they have. And you could say the same thing for CAA getting investment from a French billionaire, kind of in a way fighting off some of the other investments that are coming around into other entities. And we've talked on this show a lot about the regional sports network changing and the media rights changing. And obviously now for CAA with the Hollywood strike, with 2 strikes going on, there's a lot of uncertainty in their space. So this kind of locks down as much of what they can be certain about as possible. And so not surprised to see these acquisitions, but every time you see these kind of dollar signs thrown around, it's always an interesting game, and it's going to attract some headlines.
By the way, this wasn't on the agenda, Scott, but the Washington Commander sale is supposed to be approved today. So I'm going to be popping champagne down here.
We have a history. We have a precedent of announcing things hours before they happen. So there you go, John.
It's happening. It's happening. Anybody who has been a Washington professional football fan for the past 25 years, today is a very special day, and you know why. If you have been a Washington fan, you know why. That's all I'll say about that. What else you got for us, Scott?
All right. Before that, first of all, it seems like everything is selling for like $6 or $7 billion. I don't know what the reason for that is, but yeah. What's also interesting is that Pinot's wife is Salma Hayek, who's signed by CAA. So I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but
no conflict, no interest.
That's literally from the CAA playbook right there.
There we go. All right. So next we have to talk Women's World Cup. This is from Front Office Sports, and it says Women's World Cup puts prize money disparity in spotlight. Australia's national team has called out FIFA over the $300 million pay gap with the men. This World Cup offers $110 million in prize money compared to $440 million in Qatar, which is the Men's World Cup. There you go.
Interesting article coming in, and obviously always a discussion point when the Women's World Cup comes around and the pay disparities. And while I get that this attracts the headlines, something that I notice is the growth of the women's prize money pool. And yes, it still has a massive gap to catch up to the men's. But when I feel positive when I see Fox in the United States promoting the Women's World Cup, having every game be televised and providing more opportunities, because that's the way that in the future the prize money pool gets bigger and bigger. It's not about pitting men against women and saying who gets what. It's about making sure that both get the maximum value that they can. And obviously, historically, it's been simpler and more. That's kind of where the focus has been in on men's sports, but having kind of the growth now in women's sports and seeing the media rights coverage increase and seeing a lot of the opportunities that are being portrayed here, it's showing that the growth can happen while obviously there's still a long way to go. And just another example is of the women's Final Four this year, and seeing the viewership numbers that got when the women's Final Four was starting to be pushed more and starting to make it easier to view. And that's where you can see, it's truly that something was built and the audience came. So that's kind of what my initial thought was when I read this headline and kind of dove a little deeper.
Yeah, I think there's a misconception here that we are intentionally paying women less because we think they're lesser athletes. I don't think that's actually true. And I don't think the organizers of these events, as many problems as FIFA has, all right, I don't think the organizers of these events are saying the women deserve less. What this is essentially the business of women's football, women's soccer has not caught up with the business of men's soccer yet. It's growing, but there's less history, right? There aren't generation upon generation of fans who have been watching women's soccer and are as obsessed with it as they are men's soccer. And like the prize money, as far as I understand, it is essentially taking the revenue that comes in and distributing it as equally as they can within the prize pool, right? So to your point, Eric, it's growing, right? And it's on a trajectory to continue to grow. But I don't think FIFA is intentionally, saying the women deserve less, right? They're lesser athletes or whatever. No, it's simply this is how much revenue that this is bringing in right now. It's been growing significantly, and it's on a trajectory to continue to grow. But it's not about, hey, all right, men are better athletes, whatever. Men put on a better show. It's not about that. It's simply the business side. And so I think we get lost in this misconception about what's really going on here with the pay gap.
Awesome. Thank you. And yeah, on that note, my girlfriend bought some tickets to go to one of the games in in Australia. And they're like 35 Australian dollars, which is like insanely cheap.
It's a steal.
Exactly. Versus your Qatar Cup has like $1,500 per match ticket. So you see the disparity there in terms of the business of women's soccer catching up as well.
They clearly put on a great product. Did you guys see that ad that was put out by Orange Telecommunications?
Yeah.
Supporting the French women's team. That was pretty damn cool, right?
Mm-hmm.
That can break down this misperception that like the women's game isn't exciting, the athleticism isn't good enough. But there's incredible athletes in this tournament, right? And so as more and more, great World Cups get put on, the value of everything will continue to go up and the payouts will continue to go up for the athletes as well.
Yep, exactly. That's the hope for every league. So, all right, we'll go on to the next here. And this is from Yahoo Sports, and it says MLB All-Star Game 2023. League sets another record low for ratings. This is by Jack Bayer. Now, I want to mention something else alongside this, and I don't know if they're even comparable or if they should be mentioned in the same arena, but the All-Star Game for the WNBA was last week as well, or this week, and they had record numbers, but record high numbers. So they had 850,000 average viewers and a peak of 955,000 viewers, and it was the first time that the game has been showed on prime time. So I don't know if there's anything there or if it's just the hype around women's sports this year. So I'll leave you with those two there.
I mean, for what it's worth, almost all of these all-star games for all of these professional sports leagues are struggling, right? They can't figure out a way to make the viewership go up. Change the format, whatever, make it count, make it not count,
Yep.
you know, have them pick players. Like all of these all-star games are a bit of a just throw in. And to me, it's like unless you completely revamp or reinvent it, from scratch, I don't see this asset really growing that much. I personally didn't even watch it. I'm a huge baseball fan, right? I tuned in for a little bit of the home run derby, but I did not tune in at all for the All-Star game. And it's funny because when I was a kid, this was like must-see TV for me. So
Sure.
I don't know, Eric. What do you think about All-Star games in general? We just actually had the MLS All-Star game here in DC, by the
I
way.
was going to say the only reason I even turned on the MLS All-Star game last night, and I'm a huge soccer fan, was because Apple TV pushed a notification to my phone telling me that they were giving out free Apple TV for the night, and I said, "Hey, let me go check out, see how Audi Field's looking." But yeah, All-Star games in general they're struggling. Maybe MLB would have had more viewers if Adley would have won the home run derby, but despite the Orioles fans that would have bumped the numbers a little bit, it's just in general, it's not an asset, like you said. I completely agree. It's not an asset that is, enticing to fans to view. It's fun for the experience. DC United in general does not really sell out Audi Field, but they had a sellout in terms of attendance coming to the game last night. People who go to the MLB All-Star game or get comp tickets or whatever it may be, they also are going to enjoy themselves. But in terms of the viewing audience, I'd rather catch up with the celebrity softball game probably more than I would the MLB All-Star game.
I saw something really funny online about the MLS All-Star game, which this guy tweeted, "It's really appropriate that the award for being an MLS All-Star is getting your ass kicked by a great European club."
That's a good one.
Yeah, that about settles it. So
that sums it up.
We got some work to do here stateside on the soccer front.
Maybe next year, Messi and Busquets are gonna be there.
There you go.
Challenging, but two guys against 11 top class players, still not gonna do it. But yeah, do you guys think All-Star games are here to stay for the future, or?
Oh yeah. No one's gonna give up on the All-Star game. They're gonna tweak it a bunch of different ways. They're going to, no offense to Mac McClung. I love Mac McClung, but he was brought in to bring some type of new energy to the All-Star weekend, right? It worked, but it's like, okay, what they're going to try things like that to make All-Star games more exciting. Again, the only reason I knew that the MLS All-Star Skills Challenge even happened, which is like their 3-point contest, was because somebody in it failed to make a single shot, which is kind of hilarious. Yeah, which is hilarious. And so that's the only reason it popped up for me. But they're never going to get rid of All-Star games. I miss the days, like you said, John, when it meant, wasn't there a time, when did this go away where the winner of the All-Star game determined home field advantage for the World Series? Like it meant something. I was an Orioles fan who was like, yeah, we'll make it there. But still, there's nothing left now that is making an All-Star game like tune in, must-see television.
My big takeaway, though, Eric, was that because MLS All-Star was being streamed on Apple TV and they could send you a push notification, you actually tuned in, which is an argument for why streaming is going to be even more important in sports going forward, is because of that. Like, you don't get push notifications from your cable box, right? But you have your phone on you all the time. And if you have some way if you can get in people's home screen of their phone, and it's like one click and you're watching the game, right? That to me is something that we're going to see more and more. So imagine like Amazon streaming the MLB All-Star game in the future, and then you can incentivize people to tune in and do interactive stuff through streaming that you can't do through cable. So that's something that we're going to see different franchises, different leagues experiment with. But yeah, we'll see an evolution of this. But I wouldn't hold my breath on making these properties much bigger.
Awesome. All right, let's go into our third win for the week. So this is from On3 and says LSU's Angel Reese to host meet and greet to fundraise for foundation. And this is in collaboration with DTLR, the fashion and lifestyle brand. And what she's doing is she's using some of their locations to host these meet and greets. And there's like registration and tickets for these events, and I guess it goes side by side with the fundraising that those ticket profits will be also heading towards the foundation. And this is for work here in the DMV, so important stuff going on. What do you guys think?
Shout out St. Francis Academy in Baltimore.
One of Baltimore's finest. Yeah, did Angel Reese pick up a copy of 3-1 sponsorship? Because she's got the blueprint here, which is she's been one of the hottest commodities out in basketball, really, period, since the national championship. And so she's been capitalizing and even just formed this foundation right recently and announced it. I mean, this to me is a lot of the moves that you see professionals making. It's now moving down to the collegiate level, and even some of the stuff you're seeing at the professional and collegiate level is moving down to the high school level. I mean, Caleb Williams started his foundation when he was like a freshman or sophomore in college, right? How many 19-year-olds or 20-year-olds have a foundation with their name on it, right? So it's awesome, and it's continued professionalization of college sports. And Angel Reese is one of the leaders of this, right? She's unapologetically herself. She, is a great performer, and she's tremendous on the creative side. And then she has the charitable element too. So again, the blueprint is out there for elite athletes, and now we're just seeing the new generation, led by the likes of Caleb Williams and Angel Reese, just embracing it and leaning into it, and showing everybody how to be a leader, right, in NIL and then some.
Yeah, no, I love it. And only thing I'll add is I just love the personal touch to it, to have people be able to meet her in person and have that experience, feel what it's like to talk to her and just kind of be around her, whether it's going to different like fan events and things like that. Those experiences as an athlete, like with the fans, despite, waiting for someone to get an autograph as they're passing by on like a quick thing, but having like this more time to be with her and for people to meet her, it just, again, is great for her, great for her brand, great for her community work. And that's really authentic. So shout out Angel Reese and well done. Tita, third win in action for sure.
Awesome. All right, so that wraps up the segments for the week. But before that, we have a community update. So Eric, I'll let you take this one.
Sounds good. Definitely, we are excited as Third Win Group to announce that we are partnering with Common Goal, the entity that works with football, soccer players all over the world to go after cause areas, whether that's mental health, racial justice, equity in sports, community action. And we're really proud to be working with them to help them achieve their goals and to work with the athletes that they work with. They're an organization that has the 3-win partnership mindset in mind, and we're definitely happy to be collaborating with them. And this week, at the start of the Women's World Cup, we were proud to launch their anthem video with a lot of key members from the U.S. Women's National Team. An anthem video announcing that vulnerability is a sign of strength and not weakness. And this mental health campaign is going to be really focused on making sure that conversations about mental health are a priority in soccer around the United States. Common Goal is going to be hosting trainings across the country with the athletes and with coaches and with licensed therapists to make sure that athletes from all ages, coaches of all ages, understand how to feel comfortable about, one, being uncomfortable, and two, like the rigors that come with being an athlete trying to be your best. So again, we've done work in the space, and we're really proud to be working with them. Grateful for the opportunity, and excited to see what can come from it.
Awesome, Eric.
Well
Yeah,
said.
this is gonna be great. Already, just seeing a lot of positive response from the initial launch, and like, don't worry, there will be a lot more to come. Right, this is not just a PR.
Oh, yeah.
For there's gonna be a lot of work done on the back end. So, great job, Eric. That's just the that's the quintessential TWG partner right there. So excited to see what comes out of that.
Amen.
Awesome.
Amen.
John, any
Sorry, was that Eric's phone going off? There, he's in high demand now. Obviously, guys. What was the question, Scott?
any updates from you?
Look, I think we've got maybe one more new client to announce. Probably next week.
Yes,
But
sir.
you know what? We're just grinding it out. Dog days of summer, grinding it out, and we're excited for a big fall, winter, spring season. Right when all of our new clients are in action, I'm sure we're gonna have a ton of updates to provide the community.
Yep. Great stuff. All right. So with that, we're gonna wrap up for the week. Thank you so much for joining as always, guys, and for the discussion. And we'll keep stacking those third wins and
Let's do it.
continue to build this community and to continue working on these issues as well.
Amen. And I'll go take that phone call. See you guys.
All
got
right. See you,
Thanks,
everybody. See you next week.